So those was the background work that you need to do. You need to understand about yourself, and then prepare your resume, and then get ready for the interview. And so these are important things, but other important things are to understand what are the different types of or different methods of interviews. So there are different methods, very different kind of methods, and each methods are used by different employers basis the requirement of the job and so on. So, and these are all conducted to check your aptitude and attitude, behaviors, and so on. So the first one is the behavioral interview. Here what happens is, like, the interviewer tries to talk to you, he tries to understand like what you have done in your past, so that he can understand what kind of person you are and how do you behave in different situations. So he'll ask you different questions about from your past experiences, like how you tackle difficult jobs, or like how you what are the success completed successfully, and so basically the entire focus is on understanding who you are and what you have done in your past. And the logic here is this simple. Is basically how you behaved in the past will determine or predict how you will behave in the future. So that's why this behavioral interview is basically like what you have done in your past, and then the interview tries to understand uh, your behavior and so on. And how do they do that? So basically they ask different questions and then try to understand how did you as a person behaved or handle the job that was difficult, or if there was some disaster, how did you handle that, and if you made some decisions, what were the did it backfire, or like you received positive response or comments, and so on. So basically the interviewer is trying to understand you as a person. And so in this case, like, what you should do is you should not just you should not talk philosophically. You should take real examples and explain why did you reach that particular conclusion, or like why did you make some certain decisions, and so on. So basically you should try and present the real case rather than like making stories. And even if you have made some mistake, you should tell them and explain them, yeah, so the first one was like a mistake, but I learned from that mistake, and from the next time it become very easy for me to do, or like simplify the job and do the job or execute the job, and so on. So basically show them that yes, you are human and you also make mistake, but the best part is that you learn from your mistake, and then and then you do things differently. So the same thing. So basically don't generalize, talk about the facts, talk about what was the problem, what was the action that you took, and how did you reach to the solutions. Tell the stories. Here what you should do is you should be ready with the stories. You should do your homework, draft the stories before going for the interview. So basically you should have like good number of stories, so that if someone asks you like what was the how did you behave, how did you perform in a very adverse situation, or like what was the best thing that you did in your previous organization, and so on. So basically you should have these kind of stories ready with you, so that as and when they are asked, you can immediately start and explain like how the entire thing happened, and like what and how because of your intelligence and ability you were able to make a difference. So it's very important. And what kind of questions are that asked in this kind of interviews? So these are the questions. So tell me about a time when you handled a challenging situation. So be ready with the answer. Like, do your homework, understand, try to remember a situation wherein you did something amazing, you did different, and made the situation or the product or anything a successful event. So understand that. So next is like, tell me about a time when you made a mistake. What did you do to correct it? So basically understanding how you as a person will behave when you have made some mistake. So in this case, you should say like, yes, I understand that I made a mistake, and then explain with an example, and then say there were like these 3 reasons or 2 reasons because of which I made mistake. I was relying on data, I didn't verify it, or something like that. So you need to refer to the real life example, and then explain or mention the steps that you did or like took to correct that mistake. Next is tell me about a time when you were in conflict with a peer and how the situation was resolved. This again is a very common question, and So basically, you have to say like work comes over a person, and then as a team, it's our responsibility to deliver work. So we can keep the personal conflicts aside and then work towards one goal and so on. So basically, you'll have to explain and tell like, yeah, I understand that personal conflict might happen, but the priority is like the work. That's the thing. And then tell me about how you work under pressure. So again, you'll have to say like that your experience, you worked with big companies, and I understand that deadlines are always important. So when there is deadline, I'm always committed to deliver and put in more effort, more workly hours. But I understand that this is important for the work. But yes, my personal life is also important. So if this continues forever, this is not good for me. But yes, whenever there is a need or requirement, I do work and put in my best efforts. So these are the ways like you need to present yourself in a manner wherein you are there for the company, but yes, there are other things that are also important. So give me an example of how you set goals. Tell that basically I set all my goals. I define like what I should be doing in my next 6 months. Always try and keep myself updated, and whether I take workshops or other kind of things. So basically how I use that in my daily life, in my daily professional life, and so on. So basically you set goals, you want to reach high, you keep learning, you keep evolving, and you use the learning from those learnings to improve your daily work. So similarly, give me an example of a time you made a decision that was unpopular and explain how you handled implementing it. So basically, again, so this kind of questions are also asked wherein people check with you and ask you like, so always try to give the positive reply, positive angle to whatever you did, and share an example of how you were able to motivate a co-worker, your peers or teams. So basically, again, here what you need to do is you need to tell that you are a team player, you work together as a team, you take everyone together, and so on. And be unmotivated. If someone is down, you try to understand from them like why he's down, why he's not behaving differently, and so on. So basically, you try and explain that you are a very good team player. Tell me about a goal you set and reached and how you achieved it. So basically, it's all about the processes. And about goals, they're talking about professional goals, and it could be like I wanted to implement certain process, and for that I took certain steps. I took some education, some workshops, and that really helped me achieve what I wanted. So basically, again, you're trying to put everything in a positive manner. Tell me about the last time your work day ended before you were able to get everything done. So basically here what will happen is like most of the question answers will be same, so only the how they are put together forward in front of you will be different. So here you'll have to again say like priorities are important, and I prioritize my work. The most important thing is delivering the work at the right time. So you'll have to talk something around that. And tell me about a goal you failed to achieve. Just talk about some real life example and say that yes, you were not able to achieve that on time, but yes, you put in extra effort, you put in extra hours and made it possible that got released in a week's time. So again, everything in a very positive manner. So that was the first kind of interview. The second method of interview is called as the team interview. Here what happens, here the meeting happens in a boardroom or like in a meeting room wherein like there are several interviewers who come there and take interview, ask questions one by one. You might get like ask questions from anyone at any time. So here the main intention is to understand who the candidate is, what is the skill set, and how does he behave under pressure or like when he's working in a team. So in this case, it could be like a very pleasant experience, but at times it also gets very torturous. So I have experienced this kind of interviews a lot, wherein the team got into the conference room and they asked me like multiple questions, and it went for like 1 hour. Sometimes a case wherein I had to sit in the room for 2 hours, and they kept drilling me. So here the important point is to thing to remember is to remain calm and keep answering whatever they're asking, and in a very positive, in a very happy mood. So basically, here what happens? Many people are involved. They come and they ask you questions. So within this, there's another kind of interview or method. So that's called the tag team interview. So this is basically one-to-one. So one person will come. So though there will be like many people sitting in the room, or they might not be. But what will happen is like one person will ask a question and then you'll answer them. So once he's done with you, then you move on to the next person, so that the next person will ask you a question, and so on. There might be a lot of people from different groups or different teams who are involved in this. He might be from the HR department, might be supervisor, might be design team or HR and so on. So the key point here is to remember that when you're in a team interview, you need to respect each and every person. You can't like focus on one and just keep answering them, but you'll have to respect the other person also sitting in the room and keep smiling at them and in between and talk to them. Since this is conducted in different ways, once the interview is over, they will go back and they will talk to them, discuss like and decide upon them like whether you are a right candidate or not. So that's why like very important to treat each and every person in the best manner. And so that is basically the interview. But there are some companies who also conduct other kind of tests, and these are like the psychological tests, and basically they try to understand how you are and what kind of person you are. So you might also have to go undergo this psychology test for a few of the teams. And these are a few of the questions that are generally asked. What does it mean to you to be a team player? Describe a time when you worked well as part of a team. Can you tell me about a time when a lack of team member hindered a project? How did you address the situation? Do you prefer to work? So basically here, whatever the questions you have, like if you prepare it in a normal manner and understand like and present yourself that you are a team member, you take everyone together. Team members might have personal problems at certain times, so I try to fill up their space. I myself get into take the work, help them complete that within the timeline, deadline, and so on. So basically, you'll have to tell them and present yourself as a team member, and that you are always ready to work as a team, and then also help them, the other team members, learn, educate themselves, and so on. So if you'll prepare yourself like 4-5 questions, you'll be able to answer most of the questions. So that was the second one. The third one is called as the stress interview. These are mostly used in the verticals which are like very difficult. With example, like a finance in vertical or to the customer care vertical. So here, what the interviewer does is like he tries to put the candidate under stress and understand like how he behaves under stress. So tries to judge their ability to think out of the box ideas when they are presented with a problem. So basically, what they're trying to understand is how you handle things like workplace conflict, abusive customers, and so here. So basically, they're trying to understand who you are as a person and how psychologically and physically you behave under different situations. And where are these tactics used? These are used in investment banking and customer care services, or air travel, or frontline public services. Basically, wherein decisions have to be made at the right time, right there itself, or which are directly involved with customers. So when you are in the interview, how will you figure out that whether you are in a stress interview or like behavioral interview, or like what kind of interview method is being used by the interviewer? So these are hints that you can use to understand whether the interview is stress interview or other kind of interview. So if the other person, the interviewer, doesn't behave properly with you, or it doesn't pay attention to what you're talking, or doesn't agree to whatever you speak, he keeps questioning everything, then you should understand that you are in the stress interview, or like he's using the stress interview method. And suppose like if you are answering some questions and he doesn't pay attention to you, he keeps looking here and there, or like he keeps himself busy in the phone or looking at his watch. So basically he's not trying to pay attention to you. In that case, hello, can you hear me, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So these are different methods that the interviewer uses to understand your responses and in different situations. In this situation, the key is like to remain calm and simply answer whatever he's asking. So don't think too much. Just simply answer whatever he's questioning you, and don't panic. Don't behave in a wrong manner. Just answer him. So that's the stress interview, and these are different questions that they ask. I don't understand how you stand out from the. So they keep drilling you. Like even if you'll talk about your achievements, they'll keep drilling you. They'll keep questioning you. They'll keep asking you different questions. Keep countering you on whatever you are answering. So here the key is to remain calm. They'll question your abilities. They'll question everything. So these are the quick questions, and I think like you should just prepare these answers. Like how many other jobs are you applying for? Though it is not relevant, he'll still question to see how you handle that. Similarly, like, was the stress of your previous job too much for you? Or what would you do if a customer verbally insulted you in front of co-workers? So again, trying to understand how you behave. So handling this is very important, and the only key is like to stay calm. And for the UXs, this is one of the most important method, and this is called as the case interview. So here, what they do is they present you with a case. They give you a challenge. They give you a problem statement, and then they will ask you to answer that. And they will ask you how would you solve that answer. Like in this case, like in the example, it's mentioned like you are dealing with a client who is into event management. His manager just called and said that they are canceling the project because their expectations regarding the experience and design of the app is not met. What should you do? How will you answer that? How will you solve this particular problem, or this behavior of the client, and so on? So they'll try to put certain kind of cases, or they might put another cases, like I'll show you. So basically, they might ask you like, what would be your approach for introducing the app into a foreign market? What changes will you introduce in the design process to achieve success in the new country? So again, they're trying to check you and like understand from you like, how will you approach a certain problem, or what is the change that you will bring in the process to achieve the goal, and so on. So these are the most important methods, and as a UXer, we should be very much ready to solve this kind of, or be ready to answer these kind of questions. So what is case interview? They are used by consulting firms. IT is all about consulting, and that's why like these are used by all IT consulting firms, and this is basically used to check your ability, whether you will be able to solve a problem or not if given a challenge. And most interviews want to see is basically they are trying to check your creativity, and what is your process of achieving the result. How do you reach from point A to point B? Basically, there's a problem. What are the actions that you will take, or you're taking, and how do you achieve the goals? So some tips of handling this kind of interview is, yes, as soon as you get this kind of questions, try to note it down, try to pen it down and ask the relevant questions to them, and avoid generalization basically, and talk about the specific things. Don't get lost in the details, because he's just trying to check your process. So don't get lost in the details, and don't try to detail in each and everything like how you will do that. Just try and explain the process to him, and when you're explaining, explain it loudly and tell them like why you took certain decisions, or what are the steps that you're taking, and why did you decide to take those steps, and so on. If the interviewer tries to pressurize you and tells you that can you do it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, don't take him as his. Instead, tell them like, this is I need to think more, give me like some more time, and so on. So don't speed up, but take your time to come to the solution, since he's just taking one example and presenting to you to check your understanding. So go creative, like talk about it and what you can do differently, and so on. So basically, he'll not judge you with the solutions, but he will see like how you are presenting, how loudly you are thinking, and go crazy, go creative, and answer these kind of questions. So these are the examples. So basically, first one we've already discussed. The second one is existing team is not following any UX process. So this happens in most of the startups, most of the companies. And should the team be restructured? What changes should we bring in our work methodology to design good products? How would you recommend the company address this problem? Provide a reasoning for recommendations. So again, this is a use case, though it's not related to the product, but it's related to the team. So these are mostly asked UXers who have got like experience in handling teams. So how will you answer this? So they basically try to understand what is your process, and like how do you think. Similarly, there's another question. So basically, a landing page is not converting well. Leads are decreasing every day, and so the company has been experiencing declined sales for the last 2 seasons. Reasons suggest that introducing several new product line is the solution. Develop a UX strategy for the company's largest product line. So now they want you to develop a UX strategy, and they won't give you much time. They will give you like only 10, 20, 30 minutes, and within that you'll have to develop. Again, they're trying to understand your knowledge about your processes. So go crazy, talk about the processes, explain that if the leads are not converting, so what might be the reasons? The CTA might not be very big, the pages might have some other problem, copy might not be good, and so on. So basically talk about what could have gone wrong, and how would you, what changes you will bring to make it workable. So another example here is like ABC is an existing app and we want to revamp the complete experience. What would your process be, and how many people would you need in your team to redefine the experience? Based on your past experience, how much time would be required for this activity, and how can you be sure the new experience would be better than the current one? Again, here what they're doing is they're trying to understand your process. So basically they have an existing app, they want to revamp the entire experience. So when you're talking, try to present this as a case study. Try to present and talk about what changes you will bring, whether it's the experience, whether it's the copy, what other thing. Do include the UX process and talk about how you'll involve the actual users when redefining the experience. By the last sentence, how can you be sure that the new experience would be better than the current one? So basically, they are talking about the testing. So basically, what you need to answer is you need to tell them that you will involve the user in the testing, you will take their feedback, you will try to record how happy they are, you will conduct surveys, you will conduct the analytics wherein like the sales have increased or not, whether per users returning to the app. And basically this kind of question, they're trying to judge your understanding of your UX process and what are the artifacts that you deliver in this and how involved are you with the